checkered flags, green lights, open doors, make me a track star. Slamming old school, hand me a trophy, 'cause I'm gonna beat you. Time for you to bring it. If you got it, then it's go. Oh, probably gonna win it and the loser's going home. Give me just a minute, you'll be handing me the gold. Oh, so get your game on, get your game on. Time for you to bring it. If you got it, then it's go. Oh, probably gonna win it and the loser's going home. Give me just a minute, you'll be handing me the gold. Oh, so get your game on, get your game on.
Hello and welcome to Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge, Breeders' Cup Edition. Bobby Shoemaker, that's Barry Spears. Barry and I are going to be coming to you twice this week because it's a special week. As we just mentioned, it's Breeders' Cup week. Today we'll be talking about Breeders' Cup Friday, and tomorrow we'll be back with you to break down some select races on Breeders' Cup Saturday. So Barry, without any further ado, let's get right to it. Let's go to race 6 at Keeneland on Friday. It's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf for 2-year-old colts for $1 million, a field loaded with talent. How do you see this one playing out?
This is a really, really tough race. I mean, there's a lot of contenders here, a lot of unknowns, horses coming from the UK, Ireland, and France. So it's a real good mix of the talent that's out there, and it's going to be a really good race. I narrowed in on about 3 horses here. The first I'd like to talk about is Birchwood, a Godolphin horse trained by Richard Fahey. This horse has a tremendous upside, I think, and should give a good account of himself. His last race was a nice little prep. I don't gather that he's going to be close to the lead at all. I think he's going to be way back, but I think he has the talent to overcome any kind of traffic trouble, and his numbers are just jumping off the page speed wise, and I think he's going to be right there in the end. Definitely a tough one to kind of not be my pick, but I did go elsewhere. The next horse I'd like to talk about is Hit a Bomb, the 14, who, in my opinion, is probably the best horse in this race. The only problem is his post position. There's a lot of concern coming from the 14 post. It's just not the place to be. But a horse like this may have the talent and ability to overcome that post and win this race with ease. He's by far the best horse in this race, trained by Aidan O'Brien. I don't think that he's not coming over here just for show. Even with the 14 post, I don't foresee him not being right there in the thick of it at the end.
Right.
But I did go to another horse, who's actually a Woodbine horse, is the 10 horse Conquest d'Adio. Now, this is a Cassidy horse ridden by Joe Bravo on Friday. They put this horse on the turf in the last race, the Summer Stakes up at Woodbine, and he woke up in a big way. He was 15-1 or so, and just absolutely mowed the horses down. Even his stablemate, who was actually favored, and just blew him away. I like that race a lot. Cassie has great numbers with this kind of move. 31 days. I think he's going to be right there at the finish, and he's going to be my pick because of his odds. He's 12-1 morning line. Probably will drift up. I think the 14 is going to take a lot more money than what people are, at least the morning line shows. But I think he's going to be a nice, healthy price and be in the right spot coming for home.
Well, it seems that you and I are both in agreement that Simric, who is the morning line favorite, is a horse that we don't like. I mean, 7-2 morning line. I looked at some video. Horse did nothing for me.
No.
And I can't believe he's 7-2. I think the horse to beat from a talent perspective is absolutely the 14 horse Hit a Bomb. I think you're spot on with that. I also think you're spot on about trying to go against both of those horses considering the post. And it's funny that you bring up Conquest d'Adio. I'm actually going to take another horse in that race. I looked at this race being a lot of speed, being a fast race, and I want a horse that's probably going to be drawn on the outside, but not too far out, and can close off what I think is going to be a high pace that's going to be led by Manhattan Dan. And I think Azar is going to be tracking that pace. I think there's a lot of good horses in this race, Barry, that are going to be chasing a fast pace, and I think it's going to compromise them down the stretch. The horse I actually landed on was the horse that finished second to your horse, Sky Marshall, morning line 30-1. The reason that I was sold on Sky Marshall was because when he and Conquest Daddy were making their move in that Grade 2 race at Woodbine, I believe it was in early October, maybe October 4th, Sky Marshall had to steady when Alan Garcia asked him to run. He and Joe Bravo made their run at the same time. He was steady, blocked, almost clipped heels with your horse, to be quite honest, and it really knocked him off his stride. He went 2 lanes out further than what he wanted to go, and by the time he gathered his momentum, Conquest Daddy-O was far enough in front of him to where he couldn't catch him. Not only do I think this horse had a bad trip last time, he loses Alan Garcia and gets Luis Saez. That's a huge jockey upgrade. The pedigree, according to Timeform US, is better than most horses in this field, including your top selection. I think this horse is a major player. I think he's going to go off bigger than 30-1. I love Luis Saez, who is as good as it gets on the turf. I think he's going to get a great trip, and he's going to take advantage of a very, very big speed bias when it comes to horses up front early. I mean, half the horses in this race want to be up front, and I think he's going to win this race. I think he's going to pay a monster price and get my tournament, my pick 4, and my win wager off to a great start. So I am all in on Sky Marshall, morning line 30-1.
Absolutely. No, I can't fault that. I mean, obviously they're coming out of the same race. We keyed in on that race. I did see that trouble.
Yes.
And, it's really obvious on tape. I don't know if the viewers are actually looking at it, but if you do take a chance to look at it, you definitely need to take note of that trouble that Sky Marshall got in. I just want to make one more mention to the one horse, Dresden Hermes. A lot of reports that this horse is training like a monster at Keeneland. Maybe for the super effective players, trifecta players, this might be a big price also to throw in there.
Well, another horse that I wanted to mention, Barry, was actually the 5-horse Highland Sky that comes out of the same race as, I believe, Azar. He was, Azar and raised the bar. He was loaded and full of run, turning for home. Now, granted, it was a mile and a 16th race. Had a ton of horse. Cornelia Velasquez was looking for a lane and could not go anywhere, was blocked numerous times. I don't know if shortening to a mile is going to help this horse, but I think if you're playing a deep pick 4 or if you're looking for a bomb from a tournament standpoint, I think this horse is a must include because, again, as we've mentioned, and Barry and I are in agreement, guys, this is going to be a fast pace. You want something to come off of it. And I think Highland Sky could be a player if everything works out for him. That was a big race last time that's very deceiving, and he ran better than what his finish indicates.
Yeah, so I think we're definitely in agreement that this is going to be a price race, or where you can catch a price and get your day started off well.
No doubt about it. So let's move on to race 7 at Keeneland on Friday. It's the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile for $1 million. Boy, not really tough to read the winner on this one.
Yeah, Liam's map looks like a standout here. I'm really disappointed that he's not running in the Classic. With that being said, this is a much softer spot. But with that being said, looking at this horse as a standout, I think there may be some chinks in the armor, if you will. I mean, I know personally I'm not a real fan of horses that take a long layoff in their 3-year-old year. It always spells to trouble. And this horse has had a lot of breaks. And, every time he's on the track, he fires. So I can't really fault that, but I'm always skeptical. So I'm going to remain skeptical, although he is the best horse, probably the choice. But I can see only 2 other horses in this race because this is a really weak race. If there's anything or any time that there would be called a bad Breeders' Cup race, it's this race. There's really not much in here. A horse like Wicked Strong and Lee, the 2 horses that I think might have a chance to beat Liam's map, are not great themselves. Probably not even deserved Breeders' Cup winners. It's probably debatable. But, I think those 2 horses could, given a pace scenario where the 2 horse wants to run with Bravester, wants to run with Liam's Map, it could set something up for somebody who's going to lay a little bit off the pace, kind of forwardly placed like a stalker type. Not sure Wicked Strong fits that bill, but Lee does. As far as a tournament play, if anyone's in a tournament this week, especially on Friday, I might be apt to go with Lee. Hasn't run a bad race this year. Is training great, and I think should be in the right spot to pounce on the leaders. Whether he gets it done is another story. But, I have to go with value, and Lee's my choice.
Yeah, I mean, look, Liam's Map is much the horse to beat. I mean, I personally think he's the best 2-turn dirt horse in the country. And that he was going to be my Breeders' Cup selection in the Classic. I still think he'd win it. Wishing Todd would change his mind, even though I know it's too late at this point. But again, if you're looking for a tournament play, which is the only way I think you play this race other than a pick 4, which you're forced to play, or pick 5, pick 6, you get my point, is you have to look for a horse that's versatile, you have to look for a horse that's consistent, and you have to look for a horse that you think is ready to run a big race, and you hit the nail on the head. Lee. He runs a good race every time out. The only race he didn't run well at, Barry, was the race that Honor Code beat Liam's Map late in the Whitney, and he had trouble at the gate. And I think he just checked out in that race. He just ran 4 furlongs and 47-2. That tells me he's ready to pop. I still don't think his best is good enough to beat Liam's Map. But this is horse racing. Nothing's set in stone. Nothing's 100%. Nothing's a lot. And if Liam's Map doesn't run his best race, whether it's because he doesn't feel well or if it's because, as you alluded to, Barry, you don't like the long layoff, then maybe Lee is the horse to do it. But I wouldn't advise anyone to do anything with this race unless you have to, because if Liam's Map is anywhere close to being 100%, he's going to run away from this field. Run away from him.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with you here. One thing about Lee is notoriously, at least from the past performances, hasn't run well at Saratoga. So that might play into those, his numbers at Saratoga and the way he's run at Saratoga has been abysmal.
Right.
So I can forgive that effort in the Whitney because he bounced right back, even on the turf, ran a bang-up second to a pretty nice horse. So I think he's on his game, and I want to see a good race, but, again, all signs point to Liam's Map taking this by a pole.
And one more thing. These people on Wicked Strong, and how he's 5-1 off of one race in the slot against, I would say, mediocre competition, especially when the 2 horses I liked in that race, neither one of them liked the slot. I can't believe that horse is 5-1. I give that horse 0 chance to win that race, and I'm really surprised that Lee's not second choice.
Yeah, I think Lee will probably be the second choice, but I also can't really knock Wicked Strong because I think that last race where he made that move, it was in necessity. The horse did finish up pretty good. Had to make a move early to try to preempt the run that he was going to get from Toneless. He's just not as good as Toneless.
He's not better than a lot of horses.
Straight up, he's not as good. And he just got beat by a better horse, beat the rest, and like you said, they're mediocre. And this group isn't, far off of that. So I wouldn't expect him to be too far out of it. I just think that he's a second, third place kind of horse with this level of competition, more like a grade 2, grade 3 type at best.
Well, I think if this horse finishes second in this race, should be considered a win because that horse does not do anything for me at all. So as Barry and I are in agreement, Liam's Map, much the horse to beat, should be in the Breeders' Cup Classic. That's neither here nor there. If you're trying to find a quote-unquote price, you got to land on Lee. He's versatile. He's consistent. He's going to fire almost every time, and he's probably the safest play for you. And even if he finishes second in a tournament and you lose to Liam's Map, it really doesn't knock yourself out of anything. And if Liam's Map doesn't fire and Lee does fire and wins the race, then you could have a leg up on a majority of the players that maybe have played it safe and went with Liam's Map. So we'll move on to Keeneland Race 8. It's 1 mile on the turf. Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, also $1 million. Barry, how do you see this one playing out?
It's another good race. I wasn't so fond of the North American contingent.
Surprise.
Yeah, I think they're a little outclassed here.
Right.
I would like to mention Sapphire Kitten, trained by Joe Sharp, ridden by Leparoux, who looks like he's on the improve here. Should improve second time going long. Out of Kitten's Joy. Looks like all systems are go. But I think this horse is kind of second tier compared to the contingent coming from overseas. So with that said, I'd like to talk about Alice Springs, who, incidentally, I had a tough time not making this horse my pick. Trained by Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, Top Jock. Those are top connections. It doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't.
I mean, and even here in the States, they would be top connections.
Right.
So I think his last was a real confidence builder. But the race before that, he ran against number 10, Illuminate, who is my pick. He got thumped that day. And Illuminate, to me, is probably the best bet on Breeders' Cup Friday. This is a horse. Yeah, I think that he is my horse for that day. I think his last race was super. It sets him up perfectly. He gets Frankie Dettori, who I personally love as a jockey. I think he's one of the best ever.
Right.
Alone, best in Europe, best in America. I think he's one of the best ever. That's debatable. I'm sure I'm going to catch some flack on Twitter over that one, but
you wouldn't catch flack from me, sir. I mean, I not only think he's one of the best ever, he might be the best jockey in the world right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
But Richard Hannon is a top trainer, and they're not coming over here for peanuts. They want to win this race, and I think they got the horse right here in Illuminate.
Okay, well, I don't look. You're absolutely right. Illuminate is the horse to beat. But I do have a horse for you. I also think that this race is going to be a hot pace. And I wanted something to come from off of it. And again, when you're looking for a horse to come up from off the pace, on the turf, it needs to be a rider in which you trust. And it also needs to be a trainer in which you trust. As I was looking through the videos, Barry, I landed on a horse that just broke his maiden in the 11, Price to Perfection. This horse, first time out, had trouble, brushed the gate, still ran a valiant race. I think he was beat only 2 lengths. Second time out, this horse came into his own. Went 5 wide. Irad rode this horse as confidently as you could ride it. Won by 5 in basically a hand ride. Chad Brown has complimented this horse time and time again. He wheels him back in 13 days, Barry. He wheels this horse back in 13 days into a Breeders' Cup race after he just broke his maiden. That tells me a lot. So I think from the pace being hot to Irad and Chad Brown going 2 turns on the lawn, and then being a closer, middle pack horse, Irad's the best turf jockey in the country. And although your horse is the horse to beat, if you give me Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz, anywhere close to 20-1, in which I think a pace benefits his skill set, I'm all over it. And if you go back and watch the video of that race, that was a very good effort with his ears pricked, with her ears pricked. And she hadn't faced the competition of Illuminate, but she has every right to improve. 3rd career start. The numbers were good as it is. Could have been better. I like this horse, and I hope I get 20-1, because if I do, I'm going to bet the horse will win.
Yeah, I think you're going to get to 20-1. Just because it's off a maiden score, I think a lot of people are going to discount his chances just based on him not having the stakes experience. And
another stat I'd like to give you, Barry, and I think I'm trying to warm you up to this horse.
Oh, yeah.
It's a full sister to Mince Temple City, who I know you liked. And this horse ran a bang-up race at this distance, at this racetrack, on this surface about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that horse at all. I just, again, my thing is I'm going to be Joe Public here and really, kind of play against this horse only because of the non-stakes experience.
Fair enough, and I understand that.
Yeah, and that's really the only thing that really has got me off of this horse, especially with the outside post, but would not be a surprise if this horse runs him down and wins by 2 lengths in the end. But I'm going to take my chances. I know Illuminate is probably going to be around 2-3 to 1, maybe
Right.
4 to 1 at best. But I can't see anything, other than him winning this race for fun.
The key for me, again, I would like to stress to the viewers, the 13 days, wheeling this horse back for me in 13 days. And as you said, Aiden O'Brien and those guys aren't coming over here and running for peanuts. Well, Chad Brown is not wheeling a maiden score 13 days back into a Breeders' Cup race for popcorn. I mean, he wants to win this race and thinks he can win this race.
Absolutely. There's no reason why, he wouldn't try. I mean, this horse's family with the out of Temple City, they're all runners. Out of Dynaformer on the Grand side. So, it's definitely worth a shot, especially he was able to get in. Not too bad of a draw either.
Right, especially considering there's so much speed to the inside.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that Illuminate might be something special.
Just class, right? One horse I wanted to get your thoughts about, and I'm not necessarily just picking on Chad Brown here, but you've got to look at his numbers first off the claim with horses, first time in the U.S., 14 horse, last waltz. He gets Javier Castellano. This horse is Lasixed up. He takes the blinkers off. What is your thoughts on the 14? Did you notice anything when you were reading the race, reading the form? Did this horse stand out to you at all? Or do you think I'm on the better half of the Chad Brown field in this race?
I actually like Last Waltz a lot better than Price to Perfection, only because this horse was running, it ran a Group 3 over in Europe, and they tweaked him when they came. He's getting a makeover here. He's getting Lasix, blinkers off. And I think that might be a little wake-up call. And this horse may even get off at a price higher than his 21 morning line.
Right.
He's getting JJ, who is, to me, one of the best turf riders in America. I can't knock this horse at all other than his post position. That's the only thing that scared me away from him. I think if he was drawn a little bit inside, it would be better. But there's nothing to say that he can't work out a trip, especially on the turf. It's a little different on the dirt there at Keeneland than it is on the turf. You can win from the outside. It's not the ideal place to be. But if the horse shows that he's the best, I don't see him not working out a trip here, especially with Castellano.
What's your thoughts on Harmonize being 7-2? That just didn't make much sense to me. I understand that, wins a stakes race at Keeneland, but the number just came back so soft. And facing a group like this with my horse, who just broke its maiden, had a better number than what Harmonize did. That horse did nothing for me at 7-2. I just couldn't believe that horse was a lower price morning line than your top selection.
Yeah, what he did the last race there at the Jessamine was what I call the loop, swoop, and pull.
Right.
Up 8 wide. I don't like that. I think the horse is just going to be way back, and any sort of bit of stopping or trouble that this horse gets is just going to kill his chances. There's no way. I really honestly believe there's no way he's going to be the favorite here. I think Illuminate will be the favorite. I even expect other horses to get bet in front of him, and hopefully not your horse. You carry a lot of weight here, so
right.
People watching this, and they may start sending it in on your horse. But I think he ends up second, third to 1. I mean, Catch a Glimpse might take some money because he's going to be forwardly placed on the lead. Ran a great number at Woodbine. Whether it translates here, it's definitely possible. Cassie has great numbers with this kind of move. It's going to be close, but if they're all 4 to 1, I'm going to be happy.
Sure. You talked about horses forwardly placed, and we talked about this last week. I understand that there are numbers from horses coming from other tracks like Del Mar and Saratoga and maybe even Belmont Park, where they look really good and really fast on the front end, and you think despite the pace scenario, their talent or their numbers could overcome that. But Barry, I have bit the dust so many occasions going 2 turns at Keeneland this fall, trying to win a race wire to wire on the front end in the grass, and it just has not worked. That racetrack as a whole, specifically the lawn, has not favored front end speed at all.
No, not at all. I think they're running around 12% at this point. With this rain that they're having actually today, that when we're taping this, and right before Friday, it might change the profile a little bit. You might end up seeing a little bit of speed. You're going to have to pay attention to that. The bettors are going to have to pay attention to how that track is playing because it will change on you. And it's something to pay attention to, especially on Thursday, even more so on Friday early, just to see if things have changed. And you'll probably see it early. So it's something to keep in the back of your mind. I wouldn't focus on it too much. You always want to play the horse that you like.
Yes.
But it's something to pay attention to a little bit.
So I'm on the 11, and Barry is on the 10. So we're side by side again. So we'll move on to the last race of today's show. It's the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. It's a 1 1/8 for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. This is for $2 million, Barry. Another group that is full of talent, and a lot of these horses have been facing each other throughout the year and beating up on each other. So who are you going to give the leg up on in this race?
Yeah, this one was a tough one. I mean, you got a whole lot of action going on. Like you said, a lot of horses been beating up on each other left and right, facing each other all year, and this is the swan song for all this. I'd like to talk about Stellar Wind first. I think this was very, very good.
Right.
Got really good really quick. I mean, went from a maiden to a grade 3, then won a grade 1 right after that, and in succession. Then got a horrible trip from the outside in the Oaks, which is, to me, a throw out. Literally, this horse could have run 7 straight. And I think it has a better chance than the 12-1 morning line shows. And if you get anywhere near that, I think this horse is going to be tough. It should bounce back and show what she can do.
And Barry, that's another horse that I'm going to have in my rolling exotics, and I think that's a great selection.
Yeah, you definitely have to use that horse. That's my pick because of the way that she's run. I think she's probably the second best horse here in this race. I think I'm a Chatterbox is the best filly in this race, but I think this horse has little problems going this long. Showed some tiring in the races at Saratoga that went this long, and I think she might be gasping coming in. The horse tries every time, so you can expect the horse to run well. Larry Jones has his horses well prepared. He even rides them and trains them in the morning, so I think that this horse has a good shot also. The other one is Wedding Toast, who should take a lot of money. He doesn't fit the profile of a horse that I would ever play.
No.
Not that the horse isn't any good. It's just I don't like these kind of horses in a race like this where they're just, best on the lead. Showing a little bit of tendency to rate, but I think this horse is best on the lead and should have her hands full, early. So I'm looking for somebody who's going to sit, a good trip, second, third, a stalking type, because that's the way the track has been playing lately. And I think Stellar Wind's going to get that trip.
Barry, who Wedding Toast reminds me of, Condo Commando, was great in New York on the front end when she could get a lone lead and a good rider that could slow it down the second quarter and really solidify the race on the front end and win it late. Wedding Toast is going to have so much company up front. I can't bet this horse. 4-1, this horse is going to be bet to 2-1, 9-5. I want nothing to do with this horse. I feel like every race we've read out of these 4, every single one of them is loaded with speed. And you're talking about a racetrack, unlike Saratoga and Del Mar, that doesn't favor speed and hasn't favored speed the entire time they've been here. I wanted so badly to pick Stellar Wind because she did get so good so quickly. She did have trouble in the Oaks. But then the connections put her in 2 soft races back to back, one of which was the Summer Oaks. She barely won that race against a soft bunch. Then she goes to a mile race and goes off at 2-5. And yes, she looked great, but she went off at 2-5 in a short field on the dirt out in California. Do I think that this horse could win the race? I do. But I want a horse that I think is going to, again, take advantage of a fast pace, and I know that's reliable. And that's Got Lucky. And that's the 12 horse. I liked what this horse did at this racetrack. Last time out, Irad Ortiz rode this horse brilliantly, and quite frankly, Barry, I think Got Lucky's going to get a hotter pace in this race than she got in the last race. And if I want a jockey to time things right, and it's not Javier Castellano, it's Irad Ortiz, I just think the horse is in shape and fit and has done the right things at the right time, getting better each race. And the last race at Keeneland was impressive. Hotter pace, outside post, stays away from all the traffic trouble. Irad's going to ask her to run at the right time. And you give me 6-1 on this horse. I can't believe this horse is not the favorite. I really can't. Especially since what this horse has done lately. Look at the race that she ran at Saratoga. Talking about a racetrack that favors speed. I know it because I took advantage of it. And she still closed into the pace at Saratoga and almost won the race. She shows her true colors last time in the Spencer. I think you're going to see a better effort at a better price against a field in which the pace scenario fits exactly to what she wants. This is my strongest play. Not that I'm as excited about it as I am about the previous race in the Chad Brown horse just because of the odds. But I just think if Got Lucky runs remotely close to what she ran the last race, she's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, the horse definitely has a shot here. I think you're right. Any kind of close, that horse is going to be there. Right. You know, if the pace sets up, that horse is going to come running. Now, the other Pletcher, or the other Pletcher, which would be number 4, Stop Charging Maria. Now, that horse is very, very interesting to me in this race. 5 for 7 at the distance, which by far is the best of anybody in this field. The numbers look a little light, but she ends up winning big races, and it's really strange. I think that this horse is probably going to get a better trip than Got Lucky. Even though they're probably going to be close to each other around the backstretch and things like that. And again, the go-to rider for this particular horse is Javier Castellano, and he's jumping back aboard off the layoff since August. I think this horse might bounce back and pop a nice race here and with a chance to win. I wouldn't be surprised. 5-1 is a little light to me on the morning line. I'd like to see something about 6, 7, 8, maybe closer to 10-1, which it probably will be. I think Got Lucky is going to take a lot more money than it.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
And I think I'm a Chatterbox is actually going to take some money too. So with that being said, I think Stop Charging Maria is going to drift up in odds. The other Pletcher would be Carolina, and I just can't play a horse like that.
I didn't know what to make of that horse, Barry. I mean, she looked so good at Belmont when she overcome a terrible break that eliminated half the horses in the field. She came back to win that race anyway, and I'm thinking that this horse could be nothing short of a future superstar, and I wasn't the only one that thought that. She just has not run back to that effort at all, and I think she's the weakest of the Todd Pletcher horses.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, she, like you said, she came on the scene in the Acorn at Belmont and just looked like a monster. Just completely handled that field in the Acorn. I mean, the margin of victory was a neck, but that horse could have definitely won by more than that. Then came back the 3 grade 1s back to back, to back, and just kind of did the mediocre shuffle. Didn't really kind of did what it was supposed to do. Finished in the money. Not great races. Nothing to write home about. Didn't impress me enough to take a second look in this race with the other horses in here.
Barry, I got a bomb for you and to the players out there that if they need a monster price to get back into a tournament, the 2-horse Frivolous. I understand that the wins are not there against this caliber of competition, but this horse is a closer, and this horse could possibly take advantage of a very fast pace. The problem is the 2 will be closer to the rail, and I think there's a bunch of speed that's going to be quitting in front of her. But again, when you're betting a closer, it's all about luck. And if John Court could make the right moves, I think this horse could be there. The Beyer numbers are consistent, and I think if you're playing some sort of superfecta, maybe even a trifecta, I don't think you can leave Frivolous off your ticket. I think the 2 could be a player in the right scenario.
Yeah, actually, I kind of like the 2 in the Spinster. But just made a kind of weak effort, and I don't think they were fully cranked up. I really honestly think that Victoria Oliver wasn't trying to crank this horse up until now. So I can definitely vouch for that horse and think that she's probably going to give a good account of herself on Friday.
So Barry's on the 9 Stellar Win, which if Got Lucky is overbet, then I'm probably going to land with you. And I am on Got Lucky at 6-1. I just think that's tremendous value. So as we do every week, Barry, your top play of the 4 races we covered, and it may not necessarily be the horse that you think is going to win, but a horse that you feel as though provides the most value out of your plays.
Yeah, if it's value we're going for,
yeah, let's do value.
Go for that's the name of this game is value. Is find that value,
right.
And I think Stellar Win will be that value. If that horse is anywhere near 12-1, I'm pushing all the chips in.
Well, I got 2 for you. I mean, I'm on Sky Marshall at 30-1 in race 6, and Price to Perfection at 20-1 in race 8. I can't pick between either. Bet them both. I like them both. So for Bobby Shoemaker, Barry Spears, don't forget we'll be back with you tomorrow to talk Breeders' Cup Saturday. And this is Tournament Talk. And until tomorrow, good luck.
Only a game.